I don't want to say it was easy exactly, but it just, my performance as anything. It's learning about the blockhouse, and everybody's ideas were good, and we were just coming together, and the look came together pretty quickly.
Once the face of a global phenomenon, Tobey Maguire seemed untouchable. Then, without warning, he vanished. No scandals, no headlines, just silence. Hollywood moved on, but fans couldn't stop asking, what happened to Spider-Man himself? Behind the fame, something shifted, something that changed the course of his life forever. Was it the pressure, the pain, or a secret struggle hidden from the cameras? The answer isn't what anyone expected, and it reveals a side of Tobey few have ever seen: the disappearance mystery. Tobey Maguire's sudden retreat from the Hollywood spotlight left millions confused and searching for answers. Once known worldwide as Spider-Man, a role that defined a generation, he simply vanished from major roles and red carpets without the usual fanfare of a fading star. His absence was not due to a public scandal or a dramatic fall, but felt more like a quiet withdrawal, an actor who chose peace over pressure, control over chaos. Behind the scenes, whispers circulated about health issues, burnout, and personal battles, but none captured the full truth of why Tobey stepped back. The industry watched silently as roles passed him by. Projects moved forward without him, and his name faded from casting calls that once clamored for his talent. Unlike many in Hollywood, Maguire didn't chase the spotlight or plead for his return. He quietly turned inward, focusing on rebuilding his life away from public eyes. This disappearance wasn't the result of failure, but a complex mix of physical pain, emotional fatigue, and a deliberate choice to step off the relentless entertainment treadmill. Speculation grew as years passed. Fans hoped for a return, a new film, a sign that the familiar face would once again grace screens. Yet Tobey remained elusive, reinforcing his privacy and limiting interviews. The mystery deepened. Why would such an iconic actor essentially vanish at the peak of his fame? What pressures or revelations forced this break? Answers existed, but they unfolded only slowly, revealing layers of a man worn down by more than just fame. His story challenges the Hollywood narrative that success equals constant visibility. Tobey's retreat hinted at something deeper about the cost of stardom, the hidden toll on body, mind, and spirit. It suggested that sometimes walking away is a form of survival, not defeat. And while his absence left a void, his silence spoke volumes about what few dared to admit. The struggle behind the scenes is often far greater than what fans and the public perceive. Tobey's reemergence in recent years stunned the world. No longer the youthful hero, but a man transformed by time and turmoil. His choices since then, including selecting challenging roles and focusing on production, signaled a new chapter, a journey of reconciliation with his past and reinvention. To understand why Tobey disappeared for so long, it's essential to look back to the roots of his life, shaped as much by hardship as by Hollywood dreams. His early years were far from the Hollywood glamour that teens in Santa Monica imagined. Raised by a struggling teenage mother and a father who worked scattered jobs, stability was elusive. This childhood of instability, marked by poverty and emotional hardship, laid the groundwork for the resilience Tobey would need later, but also for the anxieties that would shadow his career. From food stamps to fleeting homes, young Tobey's world was one of survival more than comfort. The family moved often, spending nights in shelters and with relatives, the promise of a better life distant and uncertain. This backdrop of struggle shaped a boy who craved security and an escape, a dream he initially hoped to find in cooking, following his father's footsteps. But life had other plans, nudging him toward acting in a way no one could have predicted.
It's something I learned over time. I mean, I feel like inherently I had a sense of that. I had a sense of
of like hope and excitement.
His mother's desperate attempt to steer him away from an uncertain future came through a simple bribe: $100 if he took a drama class instead of home economics. This moment marked a pivotal turning point. The struggles of childhood were only the beginning. Tobey's climb to fame was shadowed by physical and emotional battles that would eventually crystallize in his Spider-Man years. Roots of a troubled childhood. Tobey Maguire's early life was far removed from the glamour and stability that many associate with future Hollywood stars. Born in Santa Monica to a teenage mother, Wendy Brown, and a part-time construction worker and cook father, Vincent Maguire, his entrance into the world was marked by financial hardship and family instability. His parents, never married when he was born, separated when he was barely 3, setting the stage for a tumultuous childhood. The young family's life bounced unpredictably between relatives' homes and overcrowded shelters. They survived on food stamps and the generosity of neighbors, constantly uncertain where their next meal or night's sleep might come from. Tobey has openly described this period as a harsh introduction to life's realities: poverty cloaked in California sunshine, dreams visible but just out of reach. Any sense of childhood normalcy was overshadowed by the struggle to survive day to day. This constant upheaval affected Tobey deeply. He battled anxiety from an early age, often falling ill and skipping school. The frequent moves and emotional turmoil eroded his ability to focus and thrive in traditional schooling, leading him to drop out before completing 9th grade. Acting became not just a career choice, but an escape, a way to create a new identity apart from the instability that defined his youth. Despite the hardships, Tobey's mother was determined to offer him more than she had. While Wendy juggled odd jobs and attempted her own acting career, she also supported Tobey's early interest in entertainment. A pivotal moment came when she incentivized him with a $100 bribe to take drama class instead of home economics, a decision that would redirect the trajectory of his life forever. Simultaneously, life sent another shock. Tobey's father, overwhelmed by the grief, the fear of cancer, and the family's confusion, robbed a bank near their home. The incident rocked Tobey's already fragile world, mostly destroying his sense of security. While the young boy was developing his inner strength, he also received an emotional wound that he would later carry without complaint. During the difficult period of his adolescence with a broken family and growing pressure, Tobey kept resorting to acting auditions, besides having no formal representation or guidance. He went through a hard time and faced obstacles that were sometimes crazy, such as commercials he was not allowed to do because he looked too sad, or being rejected by TV shows. But through the chaos and the pain, he fought to take every chance that came his way with amazing stubbornness. His early trials exposed the brutal truth that lay behind the pleasant and glamorous surface of Hollywood. A young man standing underneath the glaring lights and in the line of hopeful roles was actually fighting his own personal battles, struggling to prove his worth in a world that very often appeared to be against him. These initial fights shaped the intricate character who would later be known all over the world. It was a trek full of suffering, development, and an indomitable spirit to live.
And everyone, Catherine, again, loved digging into the truth of it and the reality of that time.
Yet, even when Tobey was getting closer to his big break, new problems waited for him, particularly when he was cast in the part that would turn him into a global superstar, but would, at the same time, almost destroy him physically and mentally. The pressures of fame and the physical demands of his most famous role would soon reveal the true cost behind the mask of Spider-Man. The Spider-Man Rise and Fall. Tobey Maguire's casting as Spider-Man in 2001 marked a turning point, not only in his career but in superhero cinema itself. Facing immense skepticism about his suitability for the role, he was considered too short, too lean, and untested. Tobey committed to an intense transformation, He gained 25 pounds of muscle, devoured 4,000 calories daily, and pushed his body with workouts that included 500 daily push-ups. The gamble paid off as audiences embraced him warmly, but the physical toll was immense. Filming the Spider-Man trilogy pushed Tobey to his limits. He endured long hours wearing a 35-pound harness while swinging across sets, often at heights and speeds that risked serious injury. He suffered daily back spasms, bruised ribs from stunt falls, and constant chafing. One snapped cable dropped him 15 feet onto crash mats. Refusing stunt doubles during close-ups, Tobey demanded authenticity, but the price was his body breaking down under relentless pressure. Negotiations for Spider-Man 2 revealed cracks that hinted at deeper struggles. Tobey's back injuries were severe enough that he brought a neurosurgeon to Sony's offices to justify demands for a higher salary and profit share. The studio grew suspicious after spotting him playing basketball and poker, activities inconsistent with his claimed physical limitations. Secret preparations for a replacement occurred, with Jake Gyllenhaal quietly tested and fitted in case Tobey stepped away. Rumors flew, and the tension strained relationships. Despite these difficulties, Tobey returned, though not without scars. Spider-Man 2 became a massive hit, grossing over $780 million worldwide. But Tobey's health deteriorated. He endured 6-hour shoots, hanging upside down by a harness, suffering headaches, vomiting, and weight loss. Sleep became elusive, reliance on medications grew, and exhaustion shadowed every performance. His physical pain closely mirrored an escalating mental and emotional burnout that would soon force a reconsideration of his career's path. Spider-Man 3 production was plagued by internal conflict. Clashes between director Sam Raimi and studio executives over characters created a toxic environment. Tobey's loyalty to the studio and willingness to please led to creative compromises that deeply wounded the director and cast. Behind the scenes, Tobey's intense method of acting blurred lines with reality, resulting in erratic behavior, tardiness, and tension with co-stars. The emotional toll mirrored the physical pain that never really healed.
Spider-Man used to make me feel safe. Now I'm afraid to walk home from work.
My son thought the world of this guy.
By 2007, Tobey's body was a patchwork of injuries: spinal fractures, torn rotator cuffs, nerve damage, and a daily regimen of heavy pain medication. In private, he checked into a Swiss rehab center, with doctors warning that one more stunt could leave him wheelchair-bound. At only 33, he made the difficult decision to step back from physical roles, trading blockbuster fame for health and longevity. The cancellation of Spider-Man 4 was a quiet end to an era. Tobey didn't fight to save the project. Friends saw relief in his eyes. He was burned out, worn thin by the intense pressure and public attention. He passed on multi-million-dollar offers, rejected major franchises, and opted out of the spotlight that once defined him. What followed was a withdrawal, a shift to a quieter, controlled life, where poker tables replaced film sets and producing replaced performing. But what awaited him beyond the mask wasn't peace. It was a darker descent, few expected from Hollywood's favorite hero. Hollywood battles and dark turns. After the physical and emotional strain of the Spider-Man trilogy, Tobey Maguire's inner struggles intensified. Known for his method acting, he immersed himself so deeply into his darker Spider-Man 3 persona that he carried it off-set, alienating colleagues who dubbed him Tobey the Dictator. His relentless drive blurred the line between art and obsession, straining relationships and creating tension with both co-stars and directors. Behind the scenes, creative conflicts flared. Director Sam Raimi and Sony clashed over forced additions like Venom, which Tobey reluctantly supported. The fallout fractured Raimi and Tobey's partnership, reflecting the actor's growing disillusionment with Hollywood's commercial pressures. Physically, Tobey paid a devastating price. By 2007, he had endured multiple spinal fractures, torn rotator cuffs, and nerve damage that left him dependent on painkillers. Consuming up to 12 OxyContin a day, he entered rehab in Switzerland. Doctors warned that another intense stunt could leave him paralyzed. When Spider-Man 4 collapsed amid studio disputes and exhaustion, Tobey didn't fight to revive it. Friends described his reaction as relief. Before long, he turned down offers for the main parts in The Departed and Pirates of the Caribbean. Giving reasons like fear of fame and anxiety, he opted for the life of a recluse, mingling in the private poker circles with Leonardo DiCaprio, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon, where only the richest played. Different sources reported that he won up to $40 million, whereas he was treating poker as a business. Disciplined, analytical, and ruthless. Controversy, however, was one of the consequences of the game as well. Molly Bloom's autobiography and the movie Molly's Game did not paint Tobey in a favorable light. Rather, they depicted him as the cold, cunning, and arrogant Player X, who was reviled for ridiculing his rivals and rejecting their gestures of goodwill. This presentation broke his image as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and exposed a darker trait that was born of pain, power, and disillusionment. Lawsuits that were connected to these poker games only served to further diminish his reputation, and studios started to include exit clauses in his contracts. Despite everything, Tobey's love for acting didn't fade away. His role in Brothers was really absorbing. The actor was going through the trauma of war, and his performance was so powerful that it got the critics' appraisal, but at the same time, it revealed his weaknesses. During these years, he lived the life of a man who stood up to the fallout from fame, suffered from physical limitations, and had to deal with his inner demons. The downfall was excruciating, but it was also the furnace of rebirth. What got out was not the youthful hero the public was used to, but rather the one who had undergone the hard work, the long hours of meditation, an artist who would eventually regain his victory behind the camera. Though his battles off-camera were intense, a new chapter awaited, one where Tobey would seek control and stability beyond the glare of Hollywood's spotlight. Reinvention behind the scenes. After stepping away from acting's constant demands, Tobey Maguire redirected his energy toward producing and entrepreneurship. In 2012, he launched his own production company with a $50 million investment, marking his shift from performer to strategist. One of his earliest successes came with Life of Pi, a film he helped produce that went on to earn 11 Oscar nominations. Ironically, Tobey had originally been cast in it, but was cut because his fame was considered too distracting. Instead of bitterness, he turned the moment into motivation, focusing on shaping meaningful stories from behind the camera, rejecting lucrative acting offers, including The Social Network and other major franchises. Tobey prioritized creative control and health over fame. A lingering back injury forced him to manage his physical limits carefully with therapy and ergonomic adjustments, further pushing him toward a slower, more deliberate career pace. He gravitated to independent films and smaller crews, favoring artistry over spectacle. Outside of film, his obsession with poker became both a hobby and an enterprise. He treated the game like business, tracking results meticulously and earning millions in high-stakes matches with Hollywood's elite. The poker circuit brought both wealth and controversy, but it reflected his calculated, analytical mindset and his desire to master systems beyond Hollywood. Tobey's personal life mirrored this focus on order and restraint. His intimate Hawaiian wedding to jewelry designer Jennifer Meyer in 2007, attended by only 35 guests with Leonardo DiCaprio as best man, reflected his privacy preference. Though the marriage ended in 2016, the separation remained amicable, centered on mutual respect and co-parenting. His home life followed strict rules: no leather, limited phone use, daily meditation and early nights, a minimalist routine built for clarity and peace. By 2023, his company, Material Pictures, had expanded significantly, producing acclaimed hits like Brittany Runs a Marathon, sold to Amazon for $14 million. This success reinforced Tobey's transformation from actor to visionary producer, guiding stories rather than starring in them. Through disciplined living and sharp business instincts, Tobey Maguire redefined success on his own terms. He emerged not as a fading star, but as a man in control, quietly powerful, resilient, and proof that true reinvention happens behind the scenes. But what happens when the man who turned away from the spotlight decides to step back into it, completely changed? Unexpected return and new identity. After years out of the spotlight, Tobey Maguire's 2022 return stunned audiences. Pale and almost unrecognizable, he re-emerged not as a superhero, but as James McKay, a meth-addicted crime boss with alligators in his basement. The disturbing role mirrored his own struggles, and as both star and producer, Tobey used it to reclaim creative control and redefine himself. His physical transformation and raw performance marked a break from the optimism of his youth. This wasn't a comeback, it was a reckoning. Shedding expectations, Tobey embraced imperfection and complexity, showing a man tempered by pain and self-awareness. Behind the camera, he quietly built Material Pictures into a successful production company, responsible for acclaimed films like Brittany Runs a Marathon. Though rarely seen on screen, his influence has deepened, steering stories rather than starring in them. In the year 2021, Tobey was in disguise while filming No Way Home. He was, indeed, Spider-Man, causing the biggest shock in the movie world. His acting was really good, even during the, at times, very painful physical healing process, and especially in his interactions with Willem Dafoe. The comeback of Tobey was a reward not only for the audience, but also for himself, as it was a process of healing through suffering that this comeback signified.
My back is kind of stiff from all the swinging, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, I got a middle back thing too.
Really?
Yeah.
Tobey has a very health-conscious and secluded lifestyle, away from the limelight of Hollywood. No leather. He does meditation every day and uses technology very little. His marriage to Jennifer Meyer was over in 2016, but their separation was amicable. Although Tobey was with a 20-year-old model in 2024, and the relationship was not well perceived, he chose to keep silent. Tobey has become a clever businessman and a silent power in Hollywood. Despite all the controversies around him, his estate and reputation are no longer based on celebrity, but on his ability to adapt and be actively present in the industry. The path of Tobey Maguire, from a favorite superhero to an isolated creator, is an illustration that, in some cases, vanishing is not a losing battle, but a transformation. His journey is characterized by healing, reinvention, and taking back one's story on one's own terms. Tobey Maguire's story reminds us that fame often carries unseen burdens, and sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is step back to heal. From his iconic Spider-Man days to his quiet reinvention behind the camera, his journey teaches us that real strength comes from embracing change and finding peace away from the noise. If his story inspired you, please like, subscribe, and watch the next video shown on the screen for more powerful journeys beyond the spotlight. Thank you for watching.